Everything you've been told about faith as a force of effort is wrong. It has kept you in a loop of trying harder, believing more, and pushing against a world that refuses to budge. What if the entire mechanism works on a principle that has zero to do with the quantity of your belief and everything to do with its quality? And chances are, the way you're trying to use it right now is the very reason it feels like it's failing. We all know the image. You stand before some impossible obstacle in your life, a mountain of debt, a wall of sickness, a chasm of loneliness, and you're told to have faith. So what do? You squeeze your eyes shut. You clench your fists. You try to generate a feeling of belief, to force a sense of certainty you simply don't have. It becomes an act of willpower, a spiritual deadlift. You're trying to push the mountain, and when the mountain doesn't move, the conclusion is obvious: your faith was too small. You didn't push hard enough. This model turns faith into a measure of psychic strength. It's a muscle you're supposed to flex. The people who succeed are the spiritual giants, and the rest of us are just too weak. But this interpretation contains a deep contradiction. If it requires immense effort to believe, then your starting point is one of deep, powerful disbelief. You are effectively trying to shout over a louder inner voice that is screaming, "This is impossible." The whole exercise becomes about battling yourself, but the original text offers a clue that we've been reading the physics of this all wrong. What if the size of your effort was never the variable that mattered? Let's look at the object itself, a mustard seed, the smallest of all seeds, a tiny, almost weightless speck. What is its defining quality? Its size is the symbol, but the function is what matters. A mustard seed holds the complete, unquestioned blueprint for a mustard tree. It has no identity crisis. It doesn't spend its energy trying to believe it can become a tree. It doesn't doubt its own nature. Its growth is the unfolding of a pre-existing, non-negotiable assumption. The seed is a single, perfect, uncontested instruction set. The instruction is, become a mustard tree. This completely reframes the analogy. Faith the size of a mustard seed isn't about mustering up a tiny amount of spiritual force. It's about holding an assumption as pure and uncontested as the seed's own DNA. The power comes from the singularity of the assumption. Its smallness just means it doesn't need to be loud, forceful, or drenched in effort. It just needs to be singular. One pure assumption with no internal opposition is the operating system. You don't push the mountain. You change the instruction set for reality, and the mountain responds. This implies the world around you is far more responsive than you've been led to believe. It isn't a fixed, solid thing you must act upon with force. It is a mirror reflecting the assumptions you hold without conflict. So, what does it feel like to hold an assumption with that kind of purity? Think about something you know to be true. Absolutely true. For example, your name is your name. You are reading these words right now. Do you need to try to believe these things? Do you need to generate a feeling of faith about them? No. They are simply facts. They are quiet, settled, and effortless. They are assumptions so deeply embedded that they require zero energy to maintain. That is the feeling state. It's a state of knowing, not a state of effortful believing. Now, compare that to the feeling of wanting something you believe is difficult to get. A promotion, a relationship, a sense of peace. Immediately there's a gap. You want it, but you assume it's not yours yet. You assume it's hard. You assume you might fail. There is the desire, and then there are a dozen opposing assumptions. The inner world is a battlefield of conflicting ideas. One part of you says, "I want this," while another 100 parts are cataloguing all the reasons it's unlikely. This is a state of internal division. A civil war. Faith like a mustard seed is the opposite. It's a state of inner unity. It's the cessation of that internal argument. The key, then, is to achieve a state of assumption so natural that it feels like a memory of something that has already happened. Critics often dismiss this as wishful thinking, arguing that you can't just trick yourself into believing something. And they are right. You can't. The process is one of revision, a subtle internal adjustment. The real work is about identifying and withdrawing your energy from the opposing assumptions. It is a subtractive process. You stop feeding the disbelief. Imagine your mind is a garden. Trying to believe harder is like trying to yell at a weed hoping it will shrivel. It's a waste of energy and it does nothing. The alternative approach is to simply stop watering it. You turn your attention away from the weed, the doubt, the fear, the evidence of its absence, and you focus your attention entirely on the seed of your new assumption, you tend to it. You feel what it would be like if it were already true. How would you walk? How would you talk? What would your inner conversations sound like if the thing you desire were already a settled fact of your life? You begin to live from that assumption internally. This is the part that feels strange. You act as if. You walk through your day with the quiet confidence of the person who already has what you desire, not with arrogance, with a calm, settled certainty. This isn't for an audience, it's for you. It's about changing your own internal state, your own dominant vibration. You are creating the feeling of the wish fulfilled. This feeling, this state of being, is the fertile ground. The assumption is the seed you plant within it. The resistance to this idea is powerful because it feels passive. It feels like you're supposed to do nothing. Our world worships effort, action, and struggle. The hero is the one who strives against all odds. This model suggests something different. It suggests that the most powerful action is internal. It is the work of shifting your own consciousness first. Once the inner state is stabilized in the new assumption, the appropriate external actions will feel natural, obvious, and effortless. You won't have to force them. You'll be inspired to take a certain call, go to a certain place, or say a certain thing. The how reveals itself once the what is a settled internal fact. This is why people can use affirmations for years with no results. Repeating "I am wealthy" while feeling the sharp pang of lack is an exercise in futility. The words are empty because they are contradicted by the dominant assumption, which is "I am not wealthy." Your state of being is the truth your subconscious accepts. You cannot lie to it. The work is to actually enter the state of being wealthy. What does that feel like? Security, freedom, ease. You find that feeling first. You inhabit it, you walk around in the mood of wealth before a single dollar has changed. You are planting the seed in the only soil that matters, your own consciousness. But what about the mountain? The text says you will say to this mountain, "Move from here to there," and it will move. Notice the mechanics. You don't push it, you don't strain against it. You speak to it. You issue a command from a place of authority. And from where does that authority come? It comes from the unwavering assumption that you have the right to do so, and that it will obey. A general doesn't hope his soldiers will obey, he assumes it. It's a settled fact of his reality. The mountain represents the seemingly solid, unchangeable facts of your life, the diagnosis, the bank statement, the historical record. From our conventional view, these are objective reality. They are what is. This teaching suggests they are something else. They are solidified assumptions. They are the harvest of previous seeds, previous states of being you inhabited, consciously or unconsciously. They look solid and permanent, but they are subordinate to your present state of consciousness. You change your assumption, you hold to it without wavering, and the shadow world of circumstances eventually reconfigures itself around the new reality you have accepted internally. The lag time is what tests you. It's the period where you must keep the faith. And what does it mean to keep the faith in this model? It's not about maintaining a high level of effort, it's about persistence in the new assumption. It is a form of mental diet. When your senses show you the opposite of what you've assumed, you gently refuse to accept it as final. You look at the mountain and acknowledge it is there, but you remind yourself that your inner reality is the creative one. You are living in your destination, in your imagination, until it hardens into fact. You've done this before. Every human has. Think of a time you worried incessantly about an upcoming event, a job interview, a difficult conversation. You played it out in your mind, imagining all the ways it could go wrong. You felt the anxiety, the fear. You were living in a future that hadn't happened, and your body was reacting as if it were real. Your heart raced, your palms sweat. You were using this exact mechanism, but in reverse. You planted a seed of failure and meticulously tended to it with worry, and often the outcome mirrored your dominant expectation. The mechanism itself is neutral. It works for things you want and for things you fear. It simply materializes the assumption you hold most consistently, the one you feel most deeply. Worry is just faith in a negative outcome. It is a sustained meditation on what you don't want. The invitation of the mustard seed is to consciously choose the object of your faith, to take that same powerful creative energy of your imagination and point it toward the reality you prefer. Let's ground this with a more concrete example. Imagine two people are laid off from the same job. The first person immediately assumes scarcity. Jobs are hard to find, the economy is bad. I don't have enough experience. This assumption generates a feeling of fear. They spend their days worrying, sending out panicked applications, and projecting an energy of desperation in interviews. Their inner conversation is one of lack. The second person makes a different assumption. They decide, something even better is waiting for me. My skills are valuable. The right opportunity will appear. They take this assumption seriously. When fear arises, they return to their chosen reality. They spend their time upgrading a skill, networking with confidence, and preparing for the good that they have assumed is coming. They feel a sense of anticipation. Their energy is expansive. Which person do you think is more likely to find a better job faster? They face the same external mountain. The only difference is the seed they planted in their own mind the moment the challenge appeared. This reinterpretation is difficult to accept for one primary reason. It places the responsibility for the quality of our lives squarely in our own hands. It's much more comforting to believe that the world is happening to us, that circumstances are outside of our control. The idea that our own unchallenged negative assumptions are the secret architects of our misfortune is a heavy burden. It's a radical accountability, but it is also the key to freedom. If your consciousness is the only cause, then you can change your world by changing your consciousness. You don't need anyone's permission. You don't need to wait for the external world to change first. You have the creative power within you. It was never about being a spiritual giant or having a mountain-sized faith. It was always about the quiet, unassuming total conviction of a single seed. A seed that knows exactly what it is destined to become. So the question is not how can I believe this harder? The real question is, what am I assuming right now? Look at your life, the state of your health, your finances, your relationships. They are the direct reflection of your most deeply held, often unconscious assumptions. They are the mustard trees that have grown from the seeds you planted long ago. You can't change the past harvest, but you can choose what you plant today. This process begins with awareness. You start to listen to your internal conversations, your self-talk, the stories you tell yourself about your life, and you notice how often you are planting seeds of limitation. Every time you say, "I can't," "it's too hard," or "that never works out for me," you are planting a seed. The soil of your subconscious is always fertile. It will grow whatever you give it. The work is to choose a new seed, a new assumption, and to hold it, to return to it, to feel it as true, even when the world shows you the opposite. That persistence, that gentle, unwavering loyalty to your unseen reality, that is the whole of the law. You select your ideal. You construct a scene in your mind which would imply it is fulfilled. You enter that scene, feel its reality, and then you return to your day. You have planted the seed. Your only remaining job is to protect it from doubt. The mountain moves when its foundation changes. You are its foundation. The world you see is built upon the structure of your assumptions. Change the assumption, and you have changed the world. It was never about shouting at the mountain. It was about turning inward and planting a different kind of garden. The ballot box of your mind is open. It's been open this whole time.